Is your small business growing? That's the question we address right here on the Grow Your Biz Show. It's where we interview strategic entrepreneurs who inform and inspire you on your solopreneur or small company journey. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. Hello and welcome to episode number 94 of the Grow Your Biz Show. I'm your host, Paul Madsen, and I'm also the founder of GrowMedia.com. Joe, GrowMedia.com helps businesses to grow by helping them tell their unique story on social media, video, and on television. And we're going to tell Joe's unique story right after we get back from thanking our sponsor. ActionCoachOmaha.com is the global leader in business coaching for small businesses and businesses of all sizes. If you need to clarify your business and if you need to have some accountability in your business, contact Jim Barger at ActionCoachOmaha.com. Welcome back. I'm here today in studio of KPAO TV with Joe Sova of Ideal Payroll Services. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you having me here.
Well, I'm so glad you could come out today. We're going to have a good time and a good talk. Joe, as I said, is the founder, owner, CEO of Ideal Payroll Services. Joe, we're just going to jump right in. Tell us, what business are you in?
Paul, so we are in the business of helping local business achieve success, and we do that through our payroll processing, time and attendance, and human capital management software so that business owners can focus on what they do best and not talk to the IRS.
Well, that sounds terrific. As a small business owner, I appreciate that because there are a lot of details that, a person who makes pizza may be great at making pizza, but what are they not good at?
They don't know anything about the IRS. Exactly.
You said the dreaded IRS. Yeah, well, it's important. There's so many details out there, aren't there?
There are. It's constantly changing, and even for a new business owner especially, you don't know what you don't know.
Well, that's it.
So you can get in there and you might make the best pizza in the world, you might make the best house in the world, you might be able to fix any engine out there,
right.
But if you can't pay your employees and pay the taxes that go along with that, you're going to be in some trouble.
I bet you have stories with your background in payroll. You have stories about businesses that have gotten in trouble because they didn't know what they didn't know.
Many of those. We get clients that come to us that we've got to clean up a lot of stuff, and that's fine. We'll help them out. That's the bottom line.
That's what you're here for, right?
A lot of times the penalties and the issues associated with not doing it right the first time are more than what we would even charge
That's
for the
interesting.
service.
So you're an investment.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because your investment to keep me out of trouble, to
Right.
keep me out of. I never really thought about that.
Absolutely.
Because those fees are more than what you cost in the front end.
Right.
There's a marketing line for you.
There's a lot to be said about that. Yeah. So our goal is just to get it done right, and so the business owner can focus on, again, like we said, what they do best, and that's grow their business.
Sure. Well, how long? Someone should name a TV show.
Right. That'd be brilliant.
Great name for a show. How long have you had this business?
So I started Ideal Payroll Service in 2011. So we're coming into our 9th year. It's 2019 now, and we're looking to the future, doing, growing as we need to.
Terrific. And you have a staff now?
We do. It started off, it was just me in the beginning. So, I was, you mentioned earlier, CEO, I was janitor, I was everything in between, doing the actual work of the payrolls and making the tax deposits and doing all that stuff. But we have grown over the years. We've enjoyed a steady growth. That's been our plan from day one. We never wanted to have an avalanche of business that we couldn't handle and service, because that's why we exist, really, is to provide that service. So We've had steady growth over the years, and we've got 7 employees right now.
Well, that's terrific. So 7 years, 7 employees, and it sounds like you have your template down.
We're always, as you know, with small business, it always changes, ebbs and flows. But yes, we've got good processes. We do a lot of checks and balances internally.
Sure.
And that's a big thing we've learned over the years, is to have processes in place. At the beginning, it was like, how do I remember how to do everything, right?
Yeah.
But for any small business, that's a big thing, and we've learned that over the years. So yeah,
Sure.
We've got a good template going.
Well, that's terrific. That's a great story. I ask everybody, Joe, pretty much, why are you in this business? What drives you to A, be in business for yourself, which is kind of nutso sometimes.
100%.
And C, why this business, I guess, that you're in?
Great question, Paul. So, in 2011, I worked for a large payroll processing company in the same industry, and I really had to evaluate where I wanted to go with my future. So, through a lot of mental work and prayer and conversations with my wife and my family at the time, just decided it was time for me to take the leap. I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur from my high school days on. I didn't know what I would do. I didn't know it'd be in payroll. Honestly, if you would have told me that then, I'd tell you you're nuts. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. I have none of that.
Sure.
But I work,
not a glamorous field necessarily.
Right. It's not
high visibility.
Right.
Thing,
it's not not real exciting either. Nobody wants to do payroll per se.
But it's mandatory. I mean, and mandatory they do it right. And for you to be
Yes.
able to take it off the plate of an entrepreneur like myself, who's not good at everything. I mean, some people could do that,
right.
but you helped. I interrupted you,
No,
and more on the why there.
This is good, but that's why we exist. And so I went through my journey in corporate, as many of us entrepreneurs do, and I was done with that. And so I looked at the opportunity out there and said, there's a need in this market for something personalized, something local. And to do this one-on-one conversation on the payroll side. Again, being in the industry, I knew who the competitors were. I knew what services were offered out there. And so I felt we could do things differently. And so, again, it took me a while to make the decision because it's not easy. It wasn't an overnight thing. But finally I said, yeah, let's do it.
Leaving that corporate fold is hard. I mean,
Right.
I've heard the stories of people who talk about, well, I'm just I have X number of years left till I retire,
Right.
or I could never leave because I'm in a pension plan, or I
Right.
could never leave because of the benefits. And I'm sure you went through all those things.
I did. Here's where I came out on that, because that absolutely went through my head. I was making decent money. Had a good career going, quote unquote. It depends on your definition.
Right.
But where I came out on that is I could always go back to corporate.
Right.
So
Good point.
if I started this business and fell flat on my face, I could, no doubt in my mind, through the connections I had made and through my experience, I could find another corporate job.
Sure.
And so I looked at that and I said, why not? And finally took the leap, and here we are 9 years in, and 7 employees deep, and we're plugging away.
That's right. I love it. You say, my corporate journey. I mean, and so many people who sit in that chair say the same kind of thing. Just last week, gentleman sat there and said, I knew when I got out of college, I thought that I wanted to get into the hospitality business, and he wanted to manage a bar and grill or something like that. And he got in and he made that happen for himself. Got a good job doing that. And he said it wasn't very long before I realized I did not want it.
Right. So, and sometimes you learn with experience.
And then he went off and did his own thing.
Yeah.
And so, and he had a great success after that. So, with the iterations that we all have along the way.
Absolutely.
So, that's terrific. Well, it sounds like you're really oriented to serving people, and that kind of brings up the next question, Joe, of, what I mean, there's lots of payroll services out there, especially with internet, online. People can do anything anywhere, right?
Right.
And especially something as transactional as that. What differentiates Ideal Payroll Service from all the rest out there?
Another great question, and you're absolutely right. There's many different ways to do payroll. You can use a software, you can use an internet-based company, you can use one of the large national providers. Again, we exist. Our mission in our company is local business success, and so what that means is that we're a local business. That means our clients are local businesses. And those local businesses can be here in Omaha, or they could be elsewhere, whatever. But those are the local businesses, those owners that are involved day to day. They have a small staff. That's who we are. That's who we help. And so that's the difference, is we know the journey of our clients. If employee A is standing in front of their desk and saying, my direct deposit didn't go through today, you got to have an answer then. So when you call us, somebody's going to answer the phone. There's no wait time. We're not going to transfer you to a department in Guam or in New York or anywhere else. We're going to handle that issue. And we can sit down like this. If there's a major issue, we sit down like this and we figure out what's going to work next. And so to differentiate ourselves, that's a lot of it, is that we are our clients. We're the same people. So like anything, service sounds cliche, but it's really how we do it behind the scenes. So you can do payroll through many different ways, like we said, but it's how that payroll is done,
Sure.
how you're being serviced, And when you call us, Paul, we know you as Paul. You're not saying I'm client XYZ,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure.
Calling the phone company or the cable company and hitting the phone tree. It's service.
Well, that is old-fashioned because I mean, with the internet now, the people can get any kind of service anywhere and anyhow, but I've worked for big corporations, and you know, you had a payroll question or something like that. You call and then you get bounced from department to department, right, and voicemail and on hold, right. And I was actually helping my daughter once with a benefits question, and she worked for let's just say a global coffee company. They did fantastic for her. It's wonderful outfit. But navigating their human resources benefits department, one time I think I spent on the phone, I think 20-25 minutes on the phone, holding, waiting, being transferred,
right.
And then the end result, Joe, was I ended up right back to where I started.
There you go. We've all been there.
Now, does that happen at Ideal Payroll Service?
You might end up where you started because you're still talking to the same person. But to your point, Paul, yeah, is we've all been there, and that can happen in a lot of industries. But you know, with the way it's done, again, it's behind the scenes. It's okay. We're going to get you an answer. If we don't know, we'll call you back, right, and it's going to be the same person that you talk to. There's lots of different ways to do it, but we do it that way because of that one-to-one service, that open communication. You know, it's not the old, you know, you get what you pay for type of thing. It's just, hey, we're humans. You're a human. We'll treat you like that, and that has done us well.
You've got a 402 area code on your local phone number.
There you go.
You've got a West Omaha office.
Yep.
And you take good care of your clients. So, not being specific, but generally you have several clients. You've built this up.
Yeah, we've got a few hundred that we service.
Wow.
And
okay.
You know, we're heavy here locally. Obviously, that's where we're based. So Nebraska, Iowa, but we're in about 25 or so states total.
Wow.
So
that's hard because I didn't know that, because you have lots and lots of laws and different rules and so on.
Different tax laws, but usually it happens if we're referred in from a partner,
okay.
Or if you know, somebody hires somebody elsewhere, whatever it is. But so our software can handle really any state.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of you mentioned earlier. What differentiates us too is the service side of it, but we can bring that same technology that the big guys have. So we can bring the multi-state, we can bring the time and attendance, we can bring the HRIS, we can bring all this technology, the online pay stubs, whatever else our clients look for from the large companies, and we can bring that to them. So even if you're not a 200-person company, if you're a 20-man company and you need something electronically, you know, to sign off on handbooks,
right.
we can provide that also.
Okay.
So that's kind of, you know, we combine the best of both worlds. We've got state-of-the-art technology with the localized service.
Several hundred clients, couple dozen states. What if I mean, right now I'm a one-man company, but what's your target customer? I mean, who you serve customers from my size up to how big?
Yeah, great question. We have clients as small as one employee. Sometimes it's the insurance office that just hired a secretary, and again, they don't know what they don't know about payroll.
Right.
And unfortunately for the small business owner, payroll tax laws are the same if you have one employee or 10 or 100. And there's some minor variances if, you know, on things you get into, but ultimately you still got to make those tax deposits and filings. So yes, we handle one employee, 10 employees, 100, 200, 300 employees. Our average client is probably in that 20 to 30 employee count, but we can do something as high as, you know, several hundred all the way down to one.
And you're there to help the entrepreneur to not have to hire a payroll person.
Right. Right.
Do you you're that way for a lot of companies?
Right. So on those types of benefits, we can supplement, you know, somebody internally that typically what we see is there's an HR, bookkeeper, internal person that's doing 10 different things. They might be the marketing person too.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of different things on their plate.
Maybe answering the phone as
right,
well.
Right. They're selling, they're secretary, they're everything. And
the office manager, right?
The one thing you don't want to mess up is the payroll taxes, as we talked about. So, so we supplement that piece and make sure that it gets done right, so they don't have to worry about it and can focus on those other areas. With the rest of it, you know, they might be well, I kind of lost where I'm at, but. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, just we were talking about the idea of not having to hire a payroll person.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I mean, there's the whole idea of outsourcing that, but again, you bring the local presence, and if I have a question, I get an answer, and I get the phone call.
And the other part of that is, so we can supplement the internal person, and then also we act as really a disaster recovery. So let's say you're doing payroll in-house on your computer. Computer blows up, building burns down, whatever it is. Or
Nebraska floods.
Yeah.
You know, I know of a lot of small businesses that were severely impacted.
Right.
I was talking to one company, and they were talking about, well, if we can get there in time, and if we can get all of our computers put up on the top shelf so they're not on the floor where the water comes.
Right.
You know, and they had some of the water. I mean, so that kind of disaster recovery is pretty important to what you do.
And when, you know, with the flood or Mother Nature, or, you know, with employees. So that one employee that is handling HR and is handling bookkeeping and is answering the phone, and they say tomorrow, hey, guess what? It's my last day.
Yeah.
How are you going to run payroll? This has happened. We've had clients come to us and said, you know, my office person is gone. I need your help. And so continuity, that's what we provide. That's what a third-party service does, is provide continuity.
We talked about that early on, is a peace of mind. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I want to know that everything's going right so I can make my pizzas, build my houses, whatever, fix my engines, and you're give us some continuity in an ideal fashion.
I like it.
Great name, great name.
Thank you.
Well, let's back up a little bit, Joe. Tell us, I mean, how you got started in all this. I mean, we've talked about your corporate journey. A little more detail on that, about, you know, where you were, what you were happened to you, and how you decided to make that jump.
How did I decide? It was just time. You know, I had wanted to have my own business from many years ago.
Why did you want to have your own business?
Well, I wanted to be able to bring my talents to others in small business. I want to be able to serve, and that was the best way I felt I could fulfill that mission. Quite honestly, is to serve those out there. You know, my mom has run a small business for as long as I can remember. Okay. She had a cleaning company. My dad had a floral business for many years.
So
it's kind of in my blood.
Your genes. You knew early on that. I mean, you didn't know early on, and they probably said, "Go get a good job."
Right. Honestly, I remember that, but here I am.
But didn't listen. Huh?
But yeah, from very early age, I think I picked up on those signals. And you know, I'm somebody that. Believe it or not, Paul, I like to be in control, like many of us do.
Well, and that's the story I hear so often on the show, and just talking to people and coaching people as I do with their branding and their marketing and small parts, is, you know, they say, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you're greedy, you want money. Well, no, what I hear is people just want freedom. They want control. They want to be able to come and tape a show with me if they want to, without asking the boss if they can have an hour off or something. They want to do something with their kids. They want to take their child to a doctor's appointment. Just that freedom to be able to do things, I think, is what the entrepreneur is. Does some of that drive you?
100%. That freedom is really big, and you know, oftentimes we end up billing ourselves a job that we're not free, but we get beyond that. But yes, the freedom.
See, you've done your different though. I mean, a lot of people are in the entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs. They did buy themselves a job, and they're really just doing a job. I mean, they're on their own, and they may have an income, they may have a great income, but it is a job. And you know, Jim Barger, who sponsors the show and who you've had on your show, which we'll talk about, talks about that whole scaling thing. And that's what I admire about you, is you can be here right now, and the work is still getting done. So you have scaled properly. Tell us about how that went. I mean, when was your first employee? When was it time for your first employee?
Sure. You know, we hired a part-time person probably about six to 12 months in, back in 2011. So part-time, and then I hired a full-time, and then we slowly grew that. Now, I'll be honest, Paul, I didn't probably do that fast enough. I'll be the first to admit, because
we hold on, don't we?
100%. I mean, I was 6 years into the business, and I'm still finding myself doing these day-to-day tasks that I had no business doing. It wasn't a skill set of mine, and it wasn't specialized where I was the only one that could know how to do it. All I had to do, well, it sounds easy now, but all I had to do was make a short training video and document what I was doing. and train somebody else.
But
it took me a long time to get there.
You spent 10 plus years to get to that point.
Right.
Yeah, overnight success. After 10
after 10 years.
10 years plus
right.
7 now on your own, and so on. And so you were a corporate employee how long?
Let's see, about 9 years.
Okay, so you learned the ropes and paid the price, and did not have the freedom, and then you went out and did that. So it's in your genes. Your parents have the example for you of all that. And tell us about that moment. I mean, a lot of our viewers, I think, are at that point. They say, should I go out on my own? Can I go out on my own? I mean, tell us about that scary moment that you said, here I am.
And it was a slow build too. I was running spreadsheets up and down every possible way, saying, okay, well, if this happens, if that happens, are we going to be able to survive?
Right.
At the time, I didn't have kids yet. Okay. So that looking back was a bonus because that makes it harder. I was married, so my wife was a teacher, so it's not like we had some huge income on the side.
Right.
And so it was difficult, but I just again we prayed, we looked at it, we looked at the spreadsheets constantly, and ultimately I had to go with my gut feeling of, when I'm 80, what am I going to look back at?
Good point.
And regret. Am I going to regret not taking or keeping this corporate job, or am I going to regret not starting my own business?
Right.
And when I look at it from that perspective, I had no choice. I had to go on my own and try it, because I absolutely would regret it. So if somebody out there is listening and watching the show and they've got this idea, are you going to regret it when you're 80?
If you didn't do it, yeah. Well, you and I both are students of self-help and development and business growth. The coaches, the mentors, the big names out there, that's what they say. Is they say, am I going to look back on it and regret that I did something, or regret that I did not do something?
Exactly.
And so I think that's what viewers should keep in mind, right? Is that
100%?
Is that they, are you going to regret not doing something? And there's a risk with everything. And so, speaking of risk, tell us about some of the speed bumps you've hit along the way.
Hiring is always tough. So, we finding employees is the way I look at it is, you can look at Amazon or Google or these huge companies that have billions of dollars to spend, and they still can't get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So for us who don't have billions in our budget to vet hires, that's been difficult. But what I have found is you just got to do it. Yeah. And you'll get better with time and just plug away. And
you reminded me of somebody who was on the show, and he said just a few weeks ago, he says, in hiring, he says, and I hired my good friend to help out. He said, don't hire your good friend.
I've been careful about that.
Went on to fire his good
friend.
Right.
That can, friends and family can be difficult. Yeah. Sometimes it works out great, sometimes it doesn't. It's your situation. But I would say, in general, hire slow, fire fast.
Good point.
I haven't always done that.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I've paid the price. Yeah. But we're human. We want to be nice to people. But ultimately, if you got to go with your gut. If you know something isn't going to work out. Somebody told me once, if knowing what you know today, would you still hire that person back then?
Interesting.
And if you can look at that and say no, then it's time.
Hire fast, fire fast, like you say.
Yeah, hire slow, fire fast.
That's great. As a small business owner, you've grown, you've had steady growth. Some of your growth, a few clients maybe, is due to some of your promotion. Tell us about your unique promotion angle, what you're doing to promote Ideal Payroll Service.
Sure, we do a couple things, Paul. We're big on relationships, so we have good relationships in the accounting community that refer us business, so we're big on referrals.
Sure.
Other business partners in the insurance world, our existing clients. And then I have a podcast that we market and we sponsor that is a similar idea to your show, where we try to promote local business. And
what's the podcast called?
It's called Local Business Talk. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are sold.
As the big names say, wherever you listen, get your podcast.
Right, exactly.
Stitcher, whatever.
Local Business Talk is the show, and that is sponsored by Ideal Payroll Service, and it all ties together because, again, our mission at Ideal is local business success, and we can do that by promoting knowledge and information out there.
Sure. I wanted to drill down on that a little bit because I think it's a fantastic, unique promotional opportunity. I mean, we have entrepreneurs listening who want to launch, or a lot of entrepreneurs who have launched and need some kind of promotion. And what's the first step to launching your a podcast like local
business talk.
Success or talk,
I would say the first step is to listen to other podcasts. So find out what you like out there and what you like about them. You don't want to mimic anybody, but there's also different styles. There's some that are Q&A, there's some that are interviews, there's some that are solo.
And you do both, right?
I do a little bit of everything.
That's awesome.
A little bit of everything. So I would say step one is to listen to podcasts, and that can be in business, it can be in sports, it can be in movies, whatever your interests are. You can listen to podcasts and find out what you like. And then once you kind of determine, I like that format, then you can kind of take some steps, and you got to get comfortable. And whatever and you learned this, we talked about this earlier, Paul, is episode 100 isn't going to be the same as episode 10, right? Episode 10 is going to look like crap.
A lot of rocky bumps.
Right, exactly. So, but you just gotta be okay with that, and you will never get to 100 if you don't have those difficult ones in the beginning.
Right.
So you gotta get your mindset right and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit, and I'm going to get through those tough ones.
Briefly, costs and technology involved in setting up your own podcast is what?
It's minimal. You've got to pay for some software online. It can be as cheap as $10 a month. To host your
what would
podcast.
That software be?
Libsyn is what I use.
Which one? Libsyn?
Yep,
Okay.
it is LIBSYN, I believe.
Right. Okay.
So that will host your actual episodes and the data. And then you may have a microphone. You want to get a decent mic, but you can find one for under $100.
And you just call people on the phone and on Skype rather.
Yep, we use Skype or Zoom, either one.
Okay.
But you can electronically do that, and everything is remote based. So you call them and then click record. There's some additional software with Skype needed. That's like a one-time investment, about $50.
Okay.
To have Skype and to be able to call landlines, it's like $3 a month. So there's minimal cost. Under $100, you could get started.
Sure. Wow. Well, that's a terrific way to promote yourself. And what I talk about with my clients is that they can know, if you can help your customers or prospects know, like, and trust you better, that's better. That's all the better for your business. And a podcast where you're out there is a great way to go.
Yep.
30 seconds, Joe. What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Don't do it all yourself.
Okay.
So when you need help, find it even before you can, quote unquote, afford it, because it's all relative. You might be able to shift some money around, or think about this: if you hire somebody to do all those little menial tasks, you can go out and find a new client, and that's going to pay for that person to do it.
That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Well, that's outstanding advice from Joe Sova of Ideal Payroll Services and Local Business Talk. Did I say that right?
That's it.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. Podcast found on Stitcher or iTunes or whatever. Be sure to check him out, because I've heard it, I've listened to it, and maybe I'll be on it. Who knows?
That's the plan, yes.
So check that out, and also check out growmedia.com. I have a couple of courses coming up through Metropolitan Community College, where I'm going to be teaching how to get yourself out there on video and how to strategically get yourself marketed as well. Joe, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Paul.
And great to have you. We will see you next week on the Grow Your Biz Show. Until then, go on out and grow something.